When a state trooper's motorcycle goes up in flames and a ruthless HOA tries to ruin his life, Jack Miller must fight back against a conspiracy that runs deeper than he ever imagined. Will justice prevail? Watch to the end to find out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more thrilling stories. A shocking awakening. The distant echo of sirens cut through the quiet suburban night. Jack Miller shot up in bed, heart pounding, as the unmistakable sound of a small explosion rattled his windows. He rubbed his eyes, trying to shake off the remnants of sleep, but the pungent stench of burning rubber and gasoline hit him like a slap to the face. It wasn't just any fire. It was something personal. Jack threw on his jeans and sprinted barefoot out the front door. The sight outside was nothing short of a nightmare. His state-issued police motorcycle, his pride and joy, was engulfed in roaring flames. The fire had already spread to the edges of his garage, and molten rubber dripped onto the driveway like thick black tar. Jack stumbled backward, his mind racing. How had this happened? Who would dare? The searing heat forced him to back away, and just then he caught the faint, chilling sound of laughter. Squinting through the smoke, he saw them, across the street, on the manicured lawn of the HOA president's house. Susan Pennington, the self-proclaimed queen of the neighborhood, stood front and center, glass of rosé in hand. Around her were a handful of the usual suspects, smug, wealthy board members of the HOA, each one of them grinning like they'd just won a war. They didn't even bother hiding their amusement. "Next time, follow the rules, Miller," Susan sneered, her perfectly styled hair gleaming in the firelight. Jack clenched his fist so tightly his knuckles turned white. He knew Susan had a reputation for being a control freak, always sticking her nose in everyone's business. From banning certain paint colors to enforcing trash can regulations down to the minute, she ruled over the community like a tyrant. But this was insanity. Rage bubbled up inside Jack, but he forced himself to breathe. If he stormed over there now, he'd be giving her exactly what she wanted, a show. Instead, he turned back to the fire, grabbing his phone to call it in. Within minutes, fire trucks barreled down the street, red and blue lights flashing. His fellow firefighters jumped out, dousing the flames with water and foam. One of them, Officer Martinez, jogged over, pulling his helmet off. "Damn, Jack, what the hell happened here?" "HOA happened," Jack muttered, his voice tense with anger. Martinez raised an eyebrow, looking between Jack and the smoldering wreckage. He didn't push for more details, but Jack could see the concern in his eyes. It wasn't just a bike, it was a statement, an act of war. As the firefighters continued their work, Jack noticed something odd. One of the hoses suddenly sputtered, and the water pressure dropped. Martinez swore under his breath, running to the truck to check the line. Jack followed, instincts tingling. When they popped open the valve compartment, they found the hose had been deliberately cut, not completely, just enough to fail under high pressure. Jack's heart dropped. This wasn't just arson, it was sabotage. Someone wanted to make sure the fire got out of control. Someone wanted to see his bike, and maybe his house, reduced to ashes. He turned his gaze back to Susan's yard. The group had dispersed, but she remained, staring at him with a triumphant smirk. It was clear she didn't just want to send a message, she wanted to break him. Jack gritted his teeth, determination hardening his resolve. He knew he had to be smart about this. He couldn't let his anger cloud his judgment. That night, while the fire crew wrapped up and cleared the scene, Jack made a decision. He wasn't just going to fight back. He was going to make sure every last one of them paid for what they did. He wasn't just some beat cop they could intimidate. He was a state trooper, trained to take down organized crime rings and syndicates. If Susan and her little HOA mafia thought they could outmaneuver him, they were about to learn just how wrong they were. He went back inside, pulled up the security footage, and started making copies. This wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. And Jack Miller wasn't the kind of man to back down. Little did he know, this was just the beginning. A strategic counterattack. The morning sun crept over the horizon as Jack sat at his kitchen table, nursing a mug of bitter coffee. He had barely slept, his mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. The fire was one thing, but the deliberate sabotage of the fire hose, that took it to a whole new level. Someone in the HOA wasn't just out to intimidate him. They wanted to see him utterly ruined. He connected his laptop to the security system and pulled up the footage again, meticulously reviewing every angle. As he scrubbed through the video, he froze at the sight of Susan and her gang sneaking onto his property. They moved with eerie coordination, like a squad on a covert mission. Henry Collins, the local firefighter and once a trusted friend, was right there with them, pouring gasoline over the bike with the precision of someone who had done this before. Jack's jaw clenched so tightly it hurt. Just as he finished downloading a copy of the footage onto a secure flash drive, his phone buzzed. It was Martinez. "Jack, we've got a problem," Martinez said, his tone grim. "Chief's putting you on administrative leave. Someone reported you for insurance fraud. They're claiming you burned your own bike to collect a payout." Jack slammed his fist on the table, his coffee mug shattering. "Are you kidding me? Who would buy that load of crap?" Apparently, Susan filed an official complaint, and she's backed by some high-profile HOA members. The chief's under pressure. They're saying it's suspicious. A cop's bike burns down, and suddenly he's making insurance claims. Jack couldn't believe it. Not only had they destroyed his bike, but now they were trying to bury his career. He stared at the shattered ceramic on the floor, blood trickling from his knuckles where a shard had cut him. The rage simmered just beneath the surface, but he knew he couldn't let it consume him. "Fine," Jack growled. "If they want a war, I'll give them one. Meet me at the station in an hour. I'm bringing the footage." He hung up and carefully wiped the blood from his hand, his mind already racing through his next steps. This wasn't just petty vandalism. It was a full-blown conspiracy. Jack grabbed the flash drive, tucked it into his jacket pocket, and headed to the police station. On the way, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every passing car, every lingering pedestrian seemed suspicious. Paranoia gnawed at him, but he forced himself to stay calm. At the station, Martinez met him out back, away from prying eyes. Jack handed over the flash drive. "Make a dozen copies," Jack instructed. "We're not letting them wipe this out. I already lost one copy last night when my system got hacked." Martinez nodded. "Got it. I'll back it up to the cloud too. No way these HOA bastards are covering this up." Just then, Martinez's phone buzzed. His face fell as he read the message. "What now?" Jack asked, frustrated. "The chief's ordered your badge and gun," Martinez said reluctantly. "Someone called in an anonymous tip saying you were seen buying gasoline in bulk a week ago." Jack's eyes widened. "That's a lie. I haven't touched gasoline except at the station." Martinez hesitated, then gave a small nod. "I believe you, but the chief's getting pressure from city officials, most of them HOA members. They're pushing hard to make you the scapegoat." A cold realization washed over Jack. This wasn't just about HOA pettiness. It was a coordinated attack from people with real power. Susan wasn't just some bored suburban tyrant. She was connected. Taking a deep breath, Jack squared his shoulders. "All right, I'll hand in the badge and gun, but don't let them get their hands on that footage. We need to blow this wide open." As Jack walked inside to hand over his gear, he knew one thing for sure. He couldn't trust anyone. The corruption ran deeper than he thought. Now, it wasn't just about saving his career. It was about exposing the truth. And Jack Miller wasn't about to go down without a fight. The climactic showdown stripped of his badge and gun, Jack felt naked. But the fire burning inside him was fiercer than ever. He knew he couldn't just sit and wait for his name to be cleared. He had to take matters into his own hands. Determined to get to the bottom of the conspiracy, Jack returned home and began assembling every piece of evidence he could find. Every HOA notice, every fine, every vague threat. He compiled them into a thick folder, his determination unwavering. Just as he was finishing, his phone buzzed. It was an unlisted number. Warily, he picked it up. "Jack Miller?" A deep, gravelly voice asked. "Who's asking?" Jack shot back, on high alert. "Someone who knows what you're up against," the voice replied. "Meet me at the old dock by the river. Midnight. Come alone. They're watching." Jack's instincts screamed setup, but curiosity gnawed at him. If someone knew what was going on, he had to risk it. That night, under the cover of darkness, he drove his old truck to the dock. The place was deserted except for a single figure leaning against a rusty pole. "You're late," the stranger muttered. Who are you? Jack demanded, hands ready to defend himself. The man turned, revealing a familiar face. Henry Collins. The betrayal burned hot and fresh. What the hell are you doing here? Jack growled. Calm down, Henry whispered. I didn't have a choice. Susan's got dirt on me, on half the town. She's got connections all the way to the city council. She threatened to ruin me if I didn't help. You burned my bike, Jack snapped. I poured the gas, yeah, Henry admitted, eyes downcast. But I didn't light it. That was Susan's right-hand man, Cal Anderson. He's ex-military, got a history of making problems disappear. Susan hired him to get you out of the neighborhood, permanently. Jack's jaw clenched. So what's your angle now? Henry hesitated, then handed over a small USB drive. Security footage from Susan's house. She records everything, paranoid as hell. This shows her meeting with Cal and planning your takedown. Use it. Take her down before she buries us all. Before Jack could respond, headlights cut through the dark and Henry bolted into the shadows. Jack barely had time to duck behind a stack of old crates before a black SUV rolled up. Cal stepped out, scanning the area like a predator. Jack held his breath, watching the lethal calm in the man's movements. Cal barked into his radio. Lost visual. Secure perimeter. Jack's pulse raced as he waited for Cal to move on. When the coast was clear, he slipped away, knowing he had just uncovered the tip of the iceberg. Back at his house, Jack plugged in the USB drive. The video was clear as day. Susan giving orders to burn the bike, stage Jack's downfall, and pressure city officials to strip him of his career. Cal's voice echoed in the background, casually discussing how to eliminate Jack if he became too much of a problem. Jack's phone buzzed again. Martinez. Jack, the chief's got word that you're resisting arrest. They're coming for you. Full SWAT unit. Someone planted evidence that you assaulted Henry. They're making it look like you're on a violent rampage. Adrenaline surged through Jack's veins. They're framing me, Martinez. I have proof. I need time to get it out. Get out of there now, Martinez urged. I'll stall them, but they're coming hard. With no time to lose, Jack quickly uploaded the files to an encrypted server, then shared the link with Martinez and a few trusted contacts in the media. Just as he hit send, flashing lights appeared down the street. SWAT vans and patrol cars surrounded his house. Come out with your hands up, the loudspeaker boomed. Jack knew he couldn't run without looking guilty. Taking a deep breath, he stepped onto the porch, hands raised. The SWAT commander cautiously approached, clearly unsure whether Jack was truly a threat. Suddenly, Martinez appeared, waving a laptop. Hold your fire. I have evidence clearing him. We've been set up. A tense silence followed, and the commander signaled his team to stand down. Martinez approached Jack, showing the video on the laptop. The commander watched, eyes narrowing as he saw Susan's plans unfold on screen. In that moment, Jack knew he had turned the tide. But one question remained. Would Susan and her cohorts face justice, or would they manipulate the system once again? Justice and reflection. The media firestorm hit like a tidal wave. News outlets scrambled to cover the story, splashing Susan Pennington's face across every screen in the state. Headlines read, HOA president and local officials arrested in conspiracy and arson case. Jack watched it all unfold from his living room, still half expecting another ambush. But this time, the storm wasn't directed at him. Martinez and the task force executed a coordinated raid on Susan's mansion and the homes of key HOA members. The evidence from the USB drive was irrefutable. Phone call recordings, video footage of Susan's meetings with Cal Anderson, and financial records showing bribes and corruption reaching all the way to city council members. Cal was taken down in a firefight after resisting arrest, and Henry, knowing he was cornered, turned himself in and agreed to testify. Susan, however, didn't go quietly. During her arrest, she screamed at the officers, declaring her innocence, accusing Jack of fabricating the whole thing. The media broadcasted her dramatic outburst live, and the public watched as the once powerful woman was dragged away in handcuffs, her composure shattered. In the days that followed, the community rallied around Jack. Neighbors who had once avoided him now approached to thank him for exposing the truth. The HOA was formally disbanded, and an investigation into its finances revealed years of embezzlement and fraud. Lawsuits from angry residents piled up against Susan and the corrupt officials. Jack knew it would take years for the legal battles to fully play out, but the dominoes were falling, and the truth couldn't be buried. One evening, as Jack sat on his porch, Martinez pulled up and joined him with a couple of cold beers. They clinked bottles in silent celebration. "They reinstated your badge," Martinez said with a grin. "Chief wants you back on the force." Jack gave a wry smile. "Not sure I'm ready to jump back in just yet. Feels good to finally breathe." Martinez nodded. "You deserve it. Hell of a ride, huh?" As the sun set, Jack glanced across the neighborhood. The people who had once been too afraid to speak up were outside, chatting and laughing without the ever-present fear of the HOA's iron grip. The community had reclaimed itself. Suddenly, Jack's phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. "You might have won this time, but there are more of us. You can't fight every HOA in America. Watch your back." Jack stared at the message, tension coiling in his chest. Was this just a bluff, or was there a larger network of corrupt HOAs across the country? He glanced at Martinez, contemplating whether to share the message or keep it to himself. Martinez noticed the pensive look. "Something wrong?" Jack took a deep breath, forcing a grin. "Nah, just thinking. Maybe it's time to take a road trip. Check on some old friends." Martinez raised an eyebrow. "You're not seriously thinking about hunting down every corrupt HOA in the country, are you?" Jack smirked, taking a swig of his beer. "One step at a time. I've learned not to underestimate the power of the little guy. Sometimes all it takes is one person to turn the tide." The two friends sat in comfortable silence as dusk settled in, the weight of the past weeks finally lifting. Jack knew his fight wasn't over, but for now he could enjoy the peace he had fought so hard to reclaim. The wind whispered through the trees and Jack leaned back, savoring the quiet victory, already mentally preparing for whatever challenge lay ahead.